Welcome to this last of the day. Your favorite, your best role-playing annotation workshop. Woo!
Yeah. Excited. Dude.
Cool. Yes.
Yeah. Hello everyone, just welcome to the final section of a role-play workshop for the NYC PyData.
Yay.
Yeah, just can't wait to see how we're presenting. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for this introduction. So who are we? Let's start with some introductions. Let's start with Lawrence.
Hey everyone, Lawrence Warner here. I'm graduating a master's degree in Chicago, same program as Bhargav. I'm heading back to England. I'm starting a company called Agile Education where we're teaching kids to learn to code. Today we're going to be teaching people who know how to code to act like kids.
Hello everyone, like Lawrence said, I'm also at the University of Chicago. I'm a graduate student. I do mostly sociology and anthropology stuff. I used to do a lot of NLP stuff before. I've written a book on NLP as well. This is what I normally do, and I'm happy to be the different parts of the processes, which you'll soon find out. And if you want to know more about me or us, you can ask us.
I have my mic, thank you. My name is Agata. I'm a software developer consultant at ThoughtWorks for about a year. A big part of my work is running workshops and transforming organizations, transforming how teams work and communicate.
My name is Lev. I'm currently a data science team lead at a trading desk, but in previous life I was an NLP engineer and like an open source maintainer. So most of this workshop is inspired by my consulting practice, in the positive and negative way, both.
What is this workshop about? This workshop is about the typical work life cycle of an NLP project. So you will be experiencing how it is to be an NLP engineer, an annotator, or a client who has a problem that wants to be solved by natural language processing. And why is this workshop great for you? It might happen that you're a highly experienced NLP engineer who just recognizes all the struggles we're going to talk about today. There will be a few. It might be that you're a complete beginner, you've never experienced NLP projects. So in either way, this will be useful for you. From one perspective, you'll see the perspective of the client, of an annotator, and the flow of information and communication between them. And you'll be able to explain the complexities of your work to those people so that you can, in the future, communicate better. If you haven't worked on NLP, it will also give you an introduction to the project and to some of the tools you might be using. So what we'll be doing today, we have about an hour and 20 minutes at this point. We'll be doing 2 exercises, and there'll be some discussion in the middle. So now I'd like you to team up. I would like you to form teams of 3, and each of you will be joined by a game master. So go ahead, please sit together, move around.
Feel free to use the whole space of the room. So you might like. I think we should like maybe bring a team over here at least to kind of have a little space. So yeah, Megan, why don't you stay over that side? Do you guys want to join her over there, please? Thank you. Yeah, guys, let's use the whole space of the room.
Would you like to
Yeah, if you guys could go over to like this side of the room, you'll understand later on.
Okay.
We're not banishing you to the corner. I'm going to come hang out with you over here.
So do we have 3 teams?
Looks like we've got exactly 9 people,
So
which is
as
awesome.
there's 4 people here, I would like to invite one of you to move.
We have 4 people.
4 people. No, that's correct. That's good. That's good. So we'll have 1 team of 4 and 2 teams of 3. That's perfectly fine.
Wait, we have 3. You want to? Yeah, 3 people. There's 3. Random 3.
Don't run away. I see you. Great. And if If you want to communicate through the workshop and you have any extra questions, we have a Slack channel you can head to right now. Role-playing-annotation-workshop. And I would like you also to go to this website. Through this workshop, we'll be using our laptops. If you have your laptops with you, it's beneficial to go to this link on your laptops. nrp.tech.
Yeah, just open up your browser either on desktop or mobile and type in nlrp.tech, and you will see what you need to do.
Just slide it here. Yeah. You managed to open the slide? Yeah.
So once you've opened up the web page, you should see a link for our current workshop here, and for participants to click on the blue button to open up the slides.
Maybe Bhargav, would you like to join this team? And yeah?
What do you need? My name is Leo. Alina. Okay.
Have everyone reached the website and the slides?
Do you want to be a fourth person of a team, or do you want to be a game master? Cool.
Do you think you want? Yeah. But before you join the team, maybe you can explain the slides.
Okay, listen up, everyone. Does all the participants in the room have the slides open? You should be on this slide up here right now. If anyone's not on the game dynamic slide, please raise your hand. Great. So the game dynamic. It's a game. We're going to have some fun. You each have assigned to you a game master. That group has Lev. This group actually has 2 game masters by the looks of it, Bhargav and Mega. And I will be your game master. We know what's going to happen, but you shouldn't really need to call on us a huge amount, because Agata over here, the master of the game masters, so to speak, has designed some rather exquisite slides for you all. On these slides, you will see they essentially guide you through a narrative of the gameplay, and there's 2 main ways that you go forward through the game. Firstly, there may be times when there's timers for a specific action that will last a certain length of time. And here you'll see a hyperlink which will open up a timer which automatically starts. So I'd encourage you all to turn the sound on your laptops on. Otherwise, you should be instructed on when to proceed through the slides.
Great.
And if it says this, then don't click ahead, please. Right, so now's the time when we will decide which roles we're going to be playing in our first playthrough of the game. So, it is now time to click ahead and choose the role that you will be playing. So, do we have a good way of...
Clockwise from the game master.
Okay, so clockwise from the game master. Are we ready? First person, please raise your hand if you are the client. Please raise your hand and click on the hyperlink client. Next person round, you are our technological wizard. You are our NLP engineer. Please click on the NLP engineer button. And finally, I am sorry to say that you will be our annotator. This means that you will be doing something for free that you usually get paid next to nothing to do. Has everyone clicked through onto their role slides?
Okay, let's get on.
Right, guys. So now we are about to enter our first game. And please look at your slides and do as instructed, and call upon your game master if you have any questions whatsoever. We will next come together as a room in around 20 minutes.
Any questions about your character? You want to write?
I was born.
Sounds like a very business club. You're how do you feel about your role? Smartest person in the room. Okay, cool. How about you, sir? What are you studying these days at the university?
They're busy board meetings.
So when I take the degree, come here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, exactly. Experience of learning.
Well, I don't know. I'm confused.
Right. What do you all do?
So never the business stakeholder.
We're all learning. So you don't just study, you
Whenever change it,
you do.
what I very much, I'm the engineer. Yeah, that sounds exactly like.
Right. You used to do Uber, but then you car broke down. So now you're just computer at home. Nice, cool. Hey, well, I'm glad we're all getting into our characters, and it's going to be a lot of fun, being that person for the next 20 minutes.
So this is what
All right, you want to click through the next slide now?
All right, when it says my data, it's prompting me for my personal. I know these.
Hey, that's people, man. Okay, guys, let's all click through on the next slide.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, yeah, I think she actually may have like this.
Supposed to. Okay.
Sure. Okay. What we're going to do is, I know you're waiting.
That's it. That's my goal.
I need to create
10 years. I should be hearing that by now. I feel like I'm moving to here right now. It's your fault. It's not your. Okay, but I'm going to do never mind. I'm going to analyze that and come back to gotcha. Yeah, I was here for the but I'm sure. No, guys. Oh, yeah. Okay, that's the yes.
Oh yeah, this data right there.
So yeah, you don't actually need to even need to be in. You're just gonna give it to them. Look at the data as well. But yeah, in theory, you can email it to them. Yeah. You can do it like when we got you roleplayer once. Mark will send it through to me by email. But you don't need to.
Okay, so those are requirements. Just get back to me with a price quote and how quickly you can go.
That's proprietary. Cool. How's the time there, Sam?
We got minutes.
Any questions you want to ask about this project? Right. Let's just assume you know there's just going to be a link you're going to pass on. You're that lazy because I'm going to pass it on.
I'm going to pick up money.
Okay. Will you give me this back? Or do you just want to find out? Okay. I figure out.
They're not here at any of this, right?
Wait a minute, no, this is
Oh, all right.
Every conversation is
And then what you want? Alright, so let's click on here we go. So why do we have a or a timer and then go away and do the process, right? Okay. That's another one. Yeah, I've got a meeting. Okay, all right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. We get back to you. Good job. Oh, nice. Context is fine for timer for 10 minutes. Yeah. So okay. So the next slide is alright, we should link them for 10 minutes. So I don't think go away and first ask the project.
So we have very important information.
It's nice. Yeah, there.
Whereas if you click on the data on that verb, you will see a spreadsheet picture. Yeah. But she wants each of it anywhere else. Should see and rest of the right now label one string let's actually use a label binary to translate both sides. Yeah. Yeah, let's kind of make sure we don't everything out. Okay. Enough. You don't like chip number. You had your questions already. You don't want to bother him. He's not He's doing myself. No matter I'm the engineer, I'll have to question anybody. I know what my role is.
So it's what I'm not setting.
Oh, I never knew that. I always thought Thank you. By the way, when you get sheet, I know more option.
We have also actually when you make this like 30 minutes. Why do you want to
Well, you're okay.
Alright,
If you want
Can you tell me what this takes?
oh, yeah.
Friday. Would it be possible to begin after
Okay.
the weekend?
After
the weekend, yeah.
Okay, coffee shop.
We don't get a full. I could squeeze it in if not, but I thought I would have a brief reminder that, like, regardless of all of this, the client's going to be pissed in 10 minutes if he doesn't see some data. So, like, let's talk and more what exactly the kind of things. All right, so you just need me to go.
No, you just kind of freak out.
Number.
I'm done. Timer has
Number and then notifications to where bakery sites. By any chance?
If I had to explain your job,
Oh, wait. It's not gonna carry with us. No vacations. Not everybody's I go to check in here on nothing. Sure, you're gonna a lot of important emails to attend to. My schemes. What's up, guys? How you doing? Am I allowed to see what you're doing? Like I'm walking down here. This is all true information, man. Yeah. But I'm here from your census, yes. I am allowed to buy that. I'm not sure if you saw your slides, but you may or may not have some I'll notify you that if you want to flip and patch. You guys have you may or may not have some exams coming up. Let's see, the dogs can tell. Oh, man. I'm all about you. Yeah, like, the client didn't give many specifications. Yeah. You need a city. This is how I. Or yeah, I was here. This is in your meeting. Wow. Trust us? You were the five. Well, as someone who lives in here, I can tell you you actually hardly know experience. So I was you have to you have to do their guides. You have to tell them what is the
Was there a roll dice?
I think I saw a lot of it. I have to go all by. Well, not in tennis. No, you have a choice now. Let's go. So what is so the attitude interview on the regular? Yeah. You got an essay from got an essay to do. Okay. Oh, no, wait. I'm gonna ask you your question. Whatever. It's on. It's on. Okay. You gotta. I'll tell you wow. And you gotta roll the dice. Okay, now I roll the dice. So you roll the dice. You got 1 minute I can have this. Oh yeah. Okay. Now there's 4. Sure. You're right. All right. I don't want to see the confused. You're right. You should be searching who this guy is. There's not much I can do, right? I'm like, you're not going to let me do it. You don't have the side. All right. I'm allowed to? I mean, why not? Like call you. Can you do it? Yeah, you're back. So you said, you didn't tell me that. Dude, this is share this spreadsheet. Turns out it was an emergency. I didn't realize I was allowed to do it. He's already signed. All right, so you gotta look at I gotta do some revision. Exam's over. Do it. Do it. That's exactly what I have to do. Yeah. No, you don't actually have to. He doesn't care about it. I don't just have a plan. I'm sorry. You paying for it. Paying for exam. I get down. It's kicked out of college. Yeah. Gotta get back to work. Got like the intellectual life. Better like growing up. That was the end of the life. Guys, get back on it. Oh man. Go again. I'm gonna play forever. Go again. Got 3 more minutes. Alright, so next here, let's try to make sure very well. It would be nice if we find the other way. It would. Alright. Now we don't. I'm gonna try to close some mistakes. You did. However, here you pay for your thing. This could include all
which means all of my content will probably first location. So that that's right. But if we include all the employees, we're including all the employees for all of them.
So you're about 20 seconds and you didn't manage to finish even one. Alright, there's no judgment here. That's just like saying what's going on. No judgment. We're gonna put 16.
If not,
But I think we should say, I think we should have one last.
Really? You're not gonna give him a second chance?
It just says
Dude, this was
number
the
of
first
locations.
project.
In case you decide
developers
to
come a time and touch
even
You gave him
out
10
the number of
minutes.
employees per location.
I'm sorry, it's everyone for.
You gave him 10 minutes.
You're
You're out of time.
I can just hire like big short retail. Well, just go for this. Taxes.
You're good at that.
No, yeah.
You don't understand that, bro. You only gave him 10 minutes. Did you go ahead on your slide?
Yeah,
Hey man, I would never do that. I don't know if you got that. Let's do that. Let's do that. Agile.
Yeah.
Where's the interaction?
We have to
Come on.
it's not fully complete. But then I have the application like how do I right now we're just getting the implementation right now, but we're trying to master them and see for application. I guess but it all depends on how you intend to use them. If you intended to have
He's kind of about these assholes, right? You have to deal with him saying no.
okay, so that definitely will require us to need more time to do that. Make sure we actually make sure we properly format here, we can still want.
Okay, I think your timer.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. Go.
Yes. Oh, you slide that. But you see, when you didn't actually count, all one is just all the addresses. You only like to get 3 addresses. So I'm gonna I don't recall you saying you need to you have to push it out. Okay.
Yes, I said.
Alright, so it's a real project.
Very good. Very good.
I just said it.
No, yeah.
How many did you find?
Our first one we're unable to find
So what am I?
to give all of these reservations but we just try to get since
Not quite, but
Because number of employees is not always locatable. Sometimes
It's
it's
a
not.
no. There's no.
how much time do we have here?
Your time is up. This is
No,
like
no,
yoga.
no,
You do or you don't. There's no.
I think it's exploding. So, I'm in the I'm here, and while you guys do you need more time for this.
or that's the value. Okay, I don't know.
You realize the mock sections they have, they don't care about that. You're not at this point. Yeah, you made a commitment.
My grandmother's
That's small data. The fact that it's an Excel sheet is small. It's huge small data, I'll give you that.
Give her 5 minutes. Okay, give her 5 minutes.
Coffee or cake shop?
Ellie Bakery,
No problem. Number
what would you like to do?
Actually, yeah, how would you? I'm really curious.
Buddy, look at that.
No, because we purposely,
Why would you guys?
we actually bought the website and took them out.
There's no way you could have gotten that conclusion. Yeah, like part of it was obsession. Yeah, you have data that we burned that rest of my day. How did that? How did you have to burn that down like last week? That was too big. This is for insurance.
And he was like, I was testing you, like,
That's fine for me. For insurance money, yes. But now we want to be. We also want to.
okay, I didn't hear that. Okay, we gotta come to some sort of
Okay. Alright, here's a little bit.
It's fine to take a break.
How much are you gonna pay off your
You said
students?
sure. How about this? You have 10 just 10 names. 10 names.
That's great.
Okay. So now I think you have to distribute, right? Oh, yeah, roll it out. I'll let you roll your fate die. That's the number of fingers.
What does that mean?
Oh, sorry. Alright. So, alright, so here's what I'm doing. I'm going to take off the hits on your head. Take that off. Because we like it. When it does in the future. So, I'm going to. Can I ask you real quick? You want to get to how you stack really matter right now? When you guys planned this workshop, did you think anyone would be going to class? Okay. What are your suggestions? Tell me your suggestions and I'll try to pick the one that's most recent.
You're outsmarting us.
Validated, like one of the improvement squared error, door versus real number.
Don't worry, the client doesn't know that.
Very true. In other random ways, he took them all out in this.
Well, yeah, you know class. Okay. You get that's great. Yeah,
Well, like, originally they don't usually bullshit the number of ways, usually what they ask.
No, I did.
So, like, that, like, call them out. Whatever you're getting, make your ask. Make your own ask. What do you, you actually need to keep it in there, right?
Is the data set too small? I mean, too big? You want less?
Oh, no.
You want to limit it to one type of business? But that's our growth model. We have to make work businesses. We burn it down, we make a new one. It's like
flash and burn agriculture.
yes. Business.
I'd
like to remind you that no matter what happens, I'm helping.
I don't think there's going to be any more work right now. You do that off the hook. You got to do that off the hook. So, basically what there is what it's going to be.
Alright,
So, you bullshitted your way out. Let's just have a look at the final product then.
Okay, I just see multi.
I'm still zoomed in right now, isn't it?
Big fun data.
But like big data, but is it? The other buzzword.
Yes. Is this human intelligence or artificial intelligence? Is it HI or AI?
No, because like,
it's HI.
because like,
So you want to know for your
I didn't do anything there. Fine.
Well, you're not in the meeting.
Yeah. Right.
I have. Yeah. So what's going to happen is this Google Sheet. You should like
Another
really
role.
share.
You weren't able to get everything and weren't able
Once you look at this, you both of you would
But we did with the API sources on the internet code to grab the data from we were able to find enough for you to test with larger typing. So the smaller bases we have information
to the NLP.
based on what we're seeing, those types of data we're not thinking.
I'm going to go ahead and show them the results.
It's so
You can make this slide it after you discuss this. Engineer and I'm chat. What do you think? Yeah. All right.
That is like 8 I took them off at night.
yeah.
I don't like the
You have a new guy.
guys. We should have What is that?
Right.
Nope.
Now we'll get it on.
It's the fee for it. That's my mom was activated. I had it.
I want to go. So let's head back to the original slide where we were. Get rid of the character we were in slide. And yeah. So
I don't think I need to know.
what was the most frustrating part of the process?
So then you roll the die.
No, I did. No, but that's the AI.
I could experience
That's not a question.
How about you guys?
I could go yeah.
Yeah. Avery said, I think part of our original project code. So yeah, more funding, yes.
I have to finish first.
I feel like we have to really Okay.
I have the power here.
Yeah.
Whoa!
Next we're gonna come out of first. Yeah, so why do you run the first? So we're gonna have a small
I felt like the
I'm sorry, I felt like I confused you so much.
I'm gonna feel being. Yeah.
Okay. What was the most
great?
I think it's what was the most start.
I would say it's
I don't know.
I think that's very good.
Main experience on that one. Turns out
Frustrating.
like it's too scared. Like disappointed.
Yeah.
And that made
Hold on, but I don't know.
I know the experience.
okay.
That man's gone.
So like, you're a Trump like business.
No, I don't. Get it. I was just trying to figure out what you actually that's what you imagine that in the beginning. I was like, yes, that's what I know about or I just like something here. Which I appreciate.
Now we're gonna now get away from this conversation.
No, I don't care about those three. I got that very what do you use my data for? That you put in the scripts. The proprietary insurance, automation. And I think that was my point. I think when I wrote the criteria, I think some of the answers in my I was fine. Yes, but I think part of it has to do with management. So I think jobs. And you're going to have I'm just glad you didn't go through it.
Yeah, I mean, like, also the reason to
I've been working in like China,
It is similar, but it's like more context. So far. It's a 60 column.
Yeah, that's
And they no, what's your data team? So is anyone ever brought like communications? Yeah, so those people who exam data 9, like whatever one they have to do. You have Excel file, all you do is you write it down, and it's like there's my one. But I'll just doing that. It's too much. The problem is because once you get to like 5 minutes, you have to almost have. You're an engineer. They would never ask. I think it's just like the beginning that's kind of figuring out.
Well, that's interesting. Like we've kind of seen all three of these sides.
Like how you fit the air, whatever.
I don't think your industry has you have something like that considering part of also being small.
We just say, oh, and then sometimes we ask.
Have you ever experienced organic in your life? Was any project where
When I was in marketing,
Yep.
I used to do marketing strategy and project management. And it was like,
How it is what's
yeah. So what I was in the role of a lot of the time was communicating directly with clients and communicating with my team. So I would have to find out what client wants specifically, and then my team would get really
actually.
Hey,
that
you have to retrain yourself.
Yeah, do that PM. Then you get it back.
So they would somehow inevitably get something wrong because they weren't able to ask questions. And we also had time.
Right, that's an interesting point about
Even though
Great, everyone. I think everyone had the chance to finish the exercise and discuss how it felt for everyone in the team. So now we're going to move on to discussion. So maybe if you, sorry, slight hiccups. Whole room. Let's have a discussion as a larger group. If there is anything that you feel like that you'd like to
Yeah, we can all come together
share.
as a one large group.
I got a mic here. I can bring it around as well. But I can
I
start.
think it's better if we still stay in our groups
Yeah.
because we're going to have the second exercise. But
I'll bring the mic around to different groups, but I'll start over here with my boy Dara.
if there's something you discuss in your group that you think is valuable for everyone to know, please do share.
Say about the thing about the managers who ask you about doing AI.
Yeah, so sometimes what happens in, since AI is a buzzword nowadays, like the management who doesn't know anything about AI, they they ask the question to their team that, okay, should we use AI? And sometimes people out of either fear or because they want to get promoted, they will somehow try to fit AI. But there are many problems which can be solved without using AI by simple heuristics.
Right.
So that's something that we need to keep in mind, that use AI whenever it's really beneficial.
And now I'm going to head over to Bhargav's group. Does anyone have anything here that they want to share out?
Your name was Mauricio?
Mauricio.
I like what Mauricio said about like in your industry. Maybe you want to talk about the industry and how like the client actually has to get involved because of the very technical nature of the things. Well, you want to the second part? Well, it's up to you. If you want something to share, please go ahead and share it.
Does anyone else have that?
Yeah, you should also. I mean, I kind of feel like you have things to say
Something about the experience.
Yeah, so I was the annotator in our group, and it was, as I was saying to these guys, it was a good exercise in just like highlighting the like sheer brutality of just like what that kind of work involves, and how like this particular kind of annotation was particularly trying because there is, as I told them, like there's no way to do it on autopilot. You're not like looking for something in a row, picking something out of it, and then just filling in that cell. You have to navigate through different parts of the internet. I'm actually curious to see what other people tried for the employee count part. But like, but yeah.
Thank you, Andrew, for sharing that. I think that's a really common experience for folks who do the annotation and find out quite how infuriating a task it is. Anyone in this group want to share anything in response to Andrew or otherwise?
Not too much more based on what everyone said, but for a number of employees, I'd like to do a marketing pitch for Glassdoor.com that had the number of employees for all of the larger bakeries. So we told that for all the large bakeries, and then the small ones, I just lied and said it was 1 to 15. The client never figured it out. So that's
Okay, cool. Can I just request the videographer removes that section from the video so future editions of the workshop get the full learning experience and the frustration. And we have another person who wants to share.
You want to share?
Sure. So one of the things that I was talking about being really frustrating was that as an annotator, I wasn't able to communicate directly with the client, which I found incredibly frustrating because I couldn't get, specifics about what the client was actually looking for. So then we weren't necessarily sure what specifics were needed. And of course, because everything was time bound, you just had to dive into the work without asking very many questions.
You want to add something?
I also asked the client why they're using this data, and they said it was proprietary, which in my mind was corporate synergy buzzword for they actually don't know what they were going to do with it. But I didn't formally say that.
And may well be the case. Now, I'll hand back to Agatha. Do we have any more time for group discussion, or do we want to go to the structured?
Let's
Okay.
get to some specific questions for...
Do you want to do the slides?
Yeah, I can do the slides. Can you do the slides, take the phone.
Right, so our first kind of question for discussion, I'll bring the mic over to anyone who wants to share thoughts on this. Just put your hand up. So annotators, there's 3 of you, who do you guys think should do the annotation? So do you think it was the right choice that you alone were tasked with doing the annotation?
There's 2 of us, and I helped 2 as the engineer, so it's
Okay, so over here we had some more collaboration going on. Do you think that was a better experience?
I felt it was, yeah.
Cool. So more people, the better. Would you guys agree over here?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I think that's.
The most successful startup that I consulted for, the CEO was doing annotations.
Wow.
That was the best thing ever. They actually knew the data. Actually, that was the best working thing. The person should be that. If you looked at least one website, you would know there's no number of employees. That's really the answer here.
So yeah, really everyone involved in the project should have some hands-on experience with the data, even in its messiest form. Right now to my 3 clients, my business owners. What do you think the NLP engineer should have done when you asked them to do the impossible?
Yeah. Clients. Who are the clients? Can you raise your hand? Okay, cool. Right. So this is a question for you.
Anyone keen to?
Yeah, from honest, don't waste my time. If you can't do it, just say, Just be honest. If you're not able to do something, just say that you can't, or if you need, if you can't meet the time expectations, be upfront. Don't drag people along. That's all.
Any agreements or disagreements with that?
Yeah. Do you want to
Agreements over here.
I just agree that the honesty from the engineer is very important, and because otherwise you would be lost at where the project, at which point it is. And
Quick comeback from that. So we heard over in the other side of the room the thought hey, like, you got to get it done. Like, everyone, like, they're teaching Python at these boot camps now. I can hire like 100 other people. If you can't get it done, I'm going to hire someone who can. Like, what do you think an engineer should say under that environment?
Wait, start with the setup again. Summarize what you said again.
Exactly, it's a really hard question. Basically, under capitalism, it's really, really hard not to lie at some point. So props to you for staying honest, folks who do.
Next slide.
Sorry, I don't actually need the mic, sorry, yes. But actually, what would be even easier if instead of getting that information from an NLP engineer, you would have yourself as a client look at the data and see it for yourself, or do it as a group. So as Liev was saying, the most successful startups have everyone in the process involved in annotation. Great.
And now finally for the 3 NLP engineers, like, do you have any thoughts on a better strategy for solving this problem? If, like, say, in the next half an hour, we were going to, try and solve the same problem again.
Well, probably I will hire this guy. That guy there, because he knows the things.
So broadly speaking, we might say, like, there might be some better tools that we might be able to use. And actually, we're actually going to introduce you to one really useful annotation tool. And we've already talked about better approaches, including more collaboration amongst all 3 people in the project. So yeah, with that in mind.
Cool. Is my mic working?
You should turn it on.
Turn it on. That's harder. I'll just take this. Okay, so yeah, we heard some good suggestions, and in part 2, we're going to put them into practice. So let me just summarize the suggestions a bit more. Let's go. Cool. So we learned from annotators that the client, and then at least NLP engineer, but the client is even better, should be involved, negotiate scope, should be involved in annotation. If client has seen at least one website, they would know that number of employees is not there. So that would be very easy to have this scoping negotiation with them if they're actually familiar with the data. That's point 1. And secondly, as we heard very well from there, it's the engineer's responsibility to not waste clients' time. It just creates unrealistic expectations. If you waste 6 months of my time and like, okay, I pay you the day rate, but there's 0 at the end of it, it's really bad for me. On Java, you told me, like, we're going to deliver 10% in 2 months rather than just get 0 after 6 months. That's the responsibility of the engineer. And in NLP, the main part of NLP in the industry is actually not about knowing some deep learning algorithms or like tuning your deep learning networks. It's more about splitting the problem, the business problem that comes to you, into well-known NLP chunks. And there are 2 well-known NLP chunks here. There's like 10 conferences a year on text categorization. If you have a text, how to categorize if it's a bakery or a bagel shop or a deli. That's just one problem. And you can have like one separate invoice for that, one separate stream for that, just for categorizing things. And the second thing that happened here is called information extraction, is that you have a page and you just need to find the address, just extracting one particular piece of information from the page. So I would actually make it as 2 different projects and say that, like, okay, let's do one of them this month and another one next month. Or you hire 2 different teams to do 2 different projects. That's a really good skill to use. That's about scoping. Let's talk more about tools. So the tool used here is Google Sheets. It's a well-known NLP tool. It's free. Everybody's using it. It was one of the sources of frustration here is definitely Google Sheets. There's a much better tool that we're going to use in part 2. It's called Prodigy. It's one of the annotation user interfaces out there. There are links to it in the end. There's some proprietary, some open source versions out there. So this is what the UI looks like. And first you look at it, it's like, what am I looking at? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't look like a website at all. So this is a small snippet of text. You're only looking at one small snippet at a time. You're not looking at the whole website. And it came from milfoilnyc.com website. The URL is in the bottom right. If you click on it, you can see the full website if you want. And we don't show you the whole website because we want you to focus. and not miss anything. You just see like one little bit at a time, and you can read it all and easily mechanically do it. Like somebody mentioned, can you do this mechanically? And it was really hard. This is actually much more mechanical than that. And you see this, and you highlight 3 things. If there's a name of the business owner, you highlight it, and it is highlighted here in yellow. You see it has a chef, Olivier Desikan. It is highlighted here in yellow, and that's the job of the annotator, is to highlight things here. And once you highlighted it, you click green, and it saves in the annotation database, this thing. You will play with it in the second part, and you'll be able to ask more questions about it later.
I've changed it.
Cool. So this yellow thing. So okay.
Back.
Let's work back. Yep, I can change it. Yay. So this yellow thing, this is what an annotator has to fill out themselves. And there's a way that we can give them suggestions so they don't have to do it from scratch. We can just already prepare something which looks kind of like an owner, looks kind of like an address, kind of like the business name, and they just have to say yes or no, or correct it slightly. It's much easier than just starting from scratch. And I can use the best AI in the world, called the regex. That's my favorite AI algorithm. It's not natural intelligence, it's artificial intelligence. And if there's any time there are 5 digits in a row, that's a postcode. And it's very easy for me to do. And actually for a client, it may be even all they want to know, because they can figure out if it's a risky neighborhood where businesses go bankrupt, or maybe it's a safe neighborhood where businesses don't go bankrupt. Postcode is actually very useful, and it's very easy for me to find. And I just need to write 1 line of JSON, and Prodigy finds me all the 5-digit strings out there. They might not all be postcodes. I still have to filter them by hand, but at least it's a good candidate, right? Do you agree? Okay, cool. What about business owner and business name? And here I can also use a pre-trained model. There are ready-made models called name entity recognition models. They recognize organization names and recognize people names. It's not based on a list of organizations. It actually just looks at the structure of a sentence, where it appears, what are the words around it, and it's just something that looks likely like a name of a business. And I can use that for this thing. I also added geographical names as a name of a business, because Liberty Bagel's Midtown. Midtown is the name of geography, but it's actually the name of a business as well. So I put it all together. It's it suggests many more things which are actually true, but I would rather not lose anything. In this stage, I just want to generate a lot of suggestions, good candidates. And I just added these 3 lines into Prodigy config. Label business name, anything which is at entity type org. Label business name, anything which is entity type geopolitical entity, like a country or a city. And business owner, just any kind of person. Not every person listed on the web page will be a business owner, but I will start with owner, and I'll fine-tune this model later. If I want to start from scratch, I'll have to teach the model 100,000 examples of people's names, and that's really hard. I already start with something that recognizes people and just fine-tune it a bit, to give me who is the owner on that page. And that's a clever way to do NLP quickly. You just start with something which is free and already pre-trained, and you just tune a little bit it for your business problem. So they're going to use the suggestions in the second part. Cool. So to summarize, we learned that regex is the best AI. If regex solves a problem, please use it. There's a talk by this big deep learning researcher and how he's saying how he really wants to work on regexes. Because that's what actually powers the industry. Secondly, if you can find a pre-trained model which is really close to a business problem, if you want to find people who commit crimes, start with a model that just finds people, and then tune it to find if it's connected to crime or not. And thirdly, just use the annotation UI. It's much more fun than Google Spreadsheets. You'll do it in part 2. Let's move on to part 2. So now we're going to change the roles. So the person who was the client becomes the annotator. The person who was the NLP engineer becomes the client. And an annotator becomes the NLP engineer. That's how we're going to do it now. So let's open your slides again, and you'll go back to the Game Masters.
So let's just have a recap of what I do.
Just because my company is thinking about getting into actually, I really would like to see that. Can I somehow be an annotator? I really want to use it. I want to know if it's worth our money. Oh wait, we have two NLP engineers.
Like the website is up.
Probably just have it, I can check it out.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Click on YouTube.
Like on the one that just so like the engineer becomes that's right.
Okay, so who is an annotator this time? You were the client, now you're an annotator. Just like
Can we run over 5 minutes? Can we run over 5 minutes?
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're not on the lines, so you can listen on the side.
Okay.
I'll just
Let's open the slides.
All right. You're hunking around. Cool. You want to charge?
Work together and I learned that maybe
just like later.
take on a slightly different size of the character, pre-render themselves to the role.
Why you?
Yeah, is everyone got that concept?
It's the same one. It's the same like stories.
Oh, is that okay?
Yeah, it's like it says something more, but that's right.
Yeah. So now we ready?
No, not now.
We're supposed to talk to you.
Yes, I am the client. Yes, I am the client.
Sometimes read the next story. That is it, you know?
Well,
And then
no,
when you're
the
ready.
first part is to talk to you.
Original client. Your backstory sucks. Because we have the same one.
Yeah.
We're open for feedback. You can come up with a better one.
And I'm sure
I am not good at
I'm sure my you can come. As long as like my consulting clients don't reply to this, it's fine.
Okay, I am ready, so ring. Hey! Right, so I need you guys to help point out data for me. I have, just to make sure, yes, I have a Google spreadsheet, which it basically will give you a column of URLs, and then you'll see 3 columns to the right of it. So I need you guys to label that data. Column 1 to be the type of business. So it's either going to be a cake shop, a cafe, a deli, or a bakery.
Cake shop?
Yep, cake shop, cafe, deli, or bakery.
Cafe.
No, yeah, C-A-F-E, cafe, deli, and a bakery.
Or bakery.
So that's column 1. Column 2, I need the address of this location. And then third column is my backstory does not prevent me from saying any of this. So basically we're using this process to basically try and identify the risk of placement. So a personal code would probably suffice.
Okay, so
no one had told me I couldn't say that, so I'm gonna say it.
Well, if there are multiple locations,
Hold on.
Actually, this time we're doing collaboratively.
Okay.
This is collaborative, yeah. Like,
collaborative?
do you guys consider each location or
Okay.
No, actually, it's a collaborative project now, actually.
I mean, because we're trying to do this.
Start again. Explain it to that again.
Not in any of my slides, just anyway. You actually want me to read?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Similar from the report, basically I have a spreadsheet of URL, business, the address, and the number of employees. And the owner name, which is not in the data. There's no column for
It could be labeled.
Okay, so that's fine. Okay, so in addition to the type of business, we also need the address, which is the personal code, number of employees, and the owner name. So how the number of employees, I'm going to change the range, or your best guess for it, which is probably trying to find out if the business can go. One of you, I think, one of you would ask what happens if a business has multiple locations. Yeah. I'm just trying to predict the location going bankrupt. So I'm flexible on this issue. If it's because it's great, if that's difficult, maybe just like the headquarters, you find like what the central location is, primary location is. So we think about the primary location, if they close, but okay, so that's really the goal, to determine if they're
It's basically a global call. And then hello. My name is.
I just got a part of my background. And like for example, that's why we need type of business, shops who are organized in so, no, cafe. Cake shop, cafe, deli.
Right, you said cake shop and cafe.
Okay.
So is that
Your backstory sucks. Yes, you're right. Yes.
I mean, you really think we're gonna want to actually not one day. Just so you want to work for it? Yeah, I mean, I don't work for deadlines. Your timer.
You can be a part of this.
Spreadsheet.
You gave them the spreadsheet. The spreadsheet came from everywhere else. Yeah. It came from you.
Yeah.
So like,
I think this is some data I want. I thought you meant like I'm gonna add more URLs. I'm not adding.
No, add URLs. No. Like you just go there and you say, yeah. You don't find something what you wanted, you the best client. You're the best client.
I didn't realize that this was a spreadsheet. I started it's not like that's not real. And I feel like each column just fill it in. I thought you guys were trying to be nice to me. I don't know if I want to be, but I'm told I have to. Yeah. Yeah.
don't know what's going on, just every year,
I'm curious, how are you doing this? Just
Okay.
Why are you leaving?
No.
You could just like explore the data. Like first you should just explore the data. Well, actually, it's not so much about the spreadsheet this time. Okay. I just need to explore the data.
Yeah. No, I am.
So like, be engineer. Can we find all some of this data? Let's try a couple websites and see all the fields.
If you have any problems
Like full debate command.
name of field or not name things with the number of
All the fields there.
you can have this conversation.
Yeah, we did like
we did it. Feel free to engage all of us. You know, like try.
Upper West Side is so
Which we can definitely get, but it was a project, so we want to give you the best quality software. And
Well, I would recommend maybe, even though you could use classroom point.
are you okay?
number of employees per
You could also
Not there, and we build our algorithm in yeah, so that you can start
you might want to
using the
first
software.
talk to
And
the
then
client instead of
it will
taking
take
the
you some time,
responsibility
right,
as
to
an
get used
advocate.
to
You're not
it
getting
and
paid
train
to
your
go
staff.
fast.
Meanwhile, we'll
That's
just
not,
give
you're
you
getting
the
like
basic
7 cents an hour or something. So like, you know, maybe just like communicate that part instead of figuring out how to solve
What I
it.
would say is 1%
Like it's not on the
probably.
website. Yeah, but it's not on.
focus.
Oh, no, I'm just here. I'm buying a yacht. I don't know.
I don't think you heard Annotator. Your Annotator is a very experienced.
Yeah, well, so what is our
we're talking like
yeah. Website doesn't have such a computer.
Yeah, what do you think about this? Yeah, I keep forgetting to use it.
You just forget it, yeah.
Okay, yeah, moving on.
Wait.
No, I would say yes. I think
It's not ready.
we're just. I'm not sure how to business order.
Is there some websites where you know?
I mean, if the website has it.
Let's look at some websites.
Yeah, it's not actually because I feel like I should not say use my
Is it even all?
Yeah.
Do you know it's like you know all the business code? Did they own it or did they sell it? I can see like free people.
Yeah. But you're the user. Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that they own it.
That's how you're gonna have to get on with it. She let you get away with it. Just go get on with it.
All right.
We need to. You start. We need to get on with it.
No, it's not a data thing. It's like it's browsing here, but nowhere else. Exactly. You have just like something strong.
Yeah, so it's definitely
Another
owner's names.
I'm okay if it's not
You're not leaving this room.
I'm going to try to get the other information.
You take that.
Okay, let's look at the next slide.
And also,
Let's go to my
I just said, other places like this anywhere.
You're fine.
You might know, man. He's a liar. He's a liar.
Yeah, okay, allow you to go Mario, let's have you have to negotiate.
Yes.
Okay.
I
Back months like.
Business owner information is better. I agree, it definitely is better. But I know it probably exists in some of the documents I provided.
Google Maps.
That's right. You're right.
The PowerPoint does not tell me otherwise, so I would like to say yes. But I'm sure when I click the next slide, it's going to say no.
You get ahead on schedule.
I'm honestly really more I really that's something.
How are you going to This is my
let's take business owner. We can try something like that.
you are valuable. The way you know the data.
I'm planning to even for example,
how are you going to deal with this? One of the things which the client must find out is these labels, right?
Yeah.
So how are you going to work with what if it's actually a cake shop or we gotta do with the client?
You would say.
You and Jen are.
Yeah, I know, but I'm the expert. Let's move on to that. But no, but I think like with the business owner information, that information about that because like the previous business history and all that, that should help us figure out.
Some of
If no,
problem with our client is that all of these things.
We're giving you in-depth analysis, by the way. I mean, if you can't find it, I would have to be blind because this does not say I can't do that. But I would definitely try. There are numbers. Sure. Yeah, and I would say, I'm okay. And if you really absolutely can't leave it, so we've got it in mind.
Dude, you're great. I'm getting you back. Yeah. Actually, we have it on there.
Alright, so this is what happens. Next part, all things here has to be used, right?
So,
Great. So another question is, can we make it really clear that we're still here, it's definitely here, it's overlap? If when the difference is
yourself. Okay, we'll probably know we have not going to get very far. You guys are you? I don't know which way you can. Oh, there's a big part. Yeah. Right? Yeah. That's true. We're going to make it. Against the rules.
I think we were defining based on what you looked up.
But basically,
Yeah.
There might be another example.
In 5 minutes, we have to.
Yeah, but that's a good mention. I don't have a conversation.
One by one.
That would be really the team works better before PyData is. Yes. I agree. I would argue that the time code is a wolf. I'm going to say cafe coffee shop. Yeah.
I'm glad you switched. No. Let's go to the next slide. So, rule number 1. So ask the client if they agree with this rule.
That is coffee.
Yeah, absolutely. We were mixing it up. All these long things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, this is an 8, right?
Now we're on the same question.
So, if it's both the big side of cafe,
Alright. So that's like controls.
it's a coffee shop that has not sure
Places for
Picture is no giant we had copied like the superhero primarily picture or even shared community memory. And I'm gonna say something that
Annotator, how do you feel about this?
like
If the primary is still on and not on
what is what's happening?
It really says hot chocolate.
Like, it's very hard to date like 100, like you can't do this. Like this rule is not gonna work. I can tell you.
Okay,
Let's
great.
try something
This
else.
time
Yeah. This is coffee, exactly. This is coffee. So this rule is not gonna work. Yeah.
Unfortunately,
it's not a coffee shop, it's a cake shop.
It's so cold, but you know what? So much
is there a reason if you don't want to do coffee shop? I'm inclined to say no, but I bet I'm going to say no. But yes, I'm going to say no, but I bet you have to show me something that really makes me say no. Yeah, she does.
You got rescheduled all that.
You agree it's not that bad. It was 2 hours. Yeah. Categories. Still got me getting
We're gonna solve that in the next We're gonna focus on information extraction.
Okay, I see how difficult it is. I'm happy to getting you to work on this. There we go, out of the box match. Right. I can't believe this is amazing. Yeah. Like, yeah. Okay. And those guys are good. What do you do tomorrow? Right now, we go ahead and action the let's go do the let's find something. You know, maybe it's like yeah. See, I was glad they brought it. All right. Good. Great. I want to say like good.
Business game. Take more time. How are we going to do this?
Hey, Aaron, I'm not saying this is what's the developer Aaron is like
using NER. The business name
and you can like I don't know what this means, but sure, I think it's like 7 pages. Yeah, I think you should probably usually just select what you want to do. I'll gather around the flyer and I'll like, I'll find you little
Anything, any water?
No, but we're actually very good on time because the discussion is much shorter. So we have like 20 minutes break at the end. Yeah.
So finish.
We're finishing. Perfect. No.
We're going to be using annotation.
Okay. So maybe let's try to wrap it in the next 3 minutes for.
Like they haven't even started furniture yet. They haven't started furniture yet.
Okay.
So 4:35 will finish.
You missed the feed in all the links before and you can do some pretty neat editing. Those are not also changes. You can like check that out. Yeah, there's a lot of similar, but not as like
I see. I see.
Yeah, if you click on this dialog,
this is not. I don't have.
I have 2 switches.
yeah. Okay. Like so just I currently have like the first 4 words.
Yay.
It's ready. Like I created a website, converted it on this JSON website for me to
Script websites from a spreadsheet.
Yeah, click on the spreadsheet here. Yeah. I just you use Visual Soup to get the text, and then the text you put in the sentences, all that sentences like Azure Lab.
We're not
No.
you are.
It's actually
Game Master. I mean, granted, it's nice. So, is it correct or is it not? Like liberated bagels, instead of liberated bagels, that's good.
Sure.
But the rest of the stuff, it's not business.
Also,
You should remove that highlight. That's good.
really just feeding all the text.
Over it, like the cross.
Like,
There's a cross.
bagels with
Cool. Now you made
bagel
it.
with good. No. So you do that.
Now we have one whole label.
And I guess the idea is
So you select the tag and then you highlight it.
Yeah.
So also like
Just like a bit, maybe I did too many candidates because everything.
Like go to the next. This is more. This is just like choosing like normally you have like 10 files. Like when you're you just like you don't go through the whole thing. You just like go to the next file. Right. So we don't have business. Well, in some of them they do contact. Some of them do, but not in the probably.
Yeah. Yeah. There's 81.
Yeah. So like my the cooking is like
yeah. Hey, I'll be honest with you guys. Live coffee is the kind of no. As a tea.
So like.
We need to wrap up. Yeah, so I said let's give them another minute and then we're gonna wrap up. I asked for extra 5 minutes. And yeah.
I'm enjoying this.
That worked out well.
like actually.
Backspace. It is, but it's not important for me to go back when I work. There we go.
So we're gonna spend on the annotation maybe 1 more minute, and then we're gonna wrap up this part of the workshop.
Here, remove. Yep.
Do I need it?
No, well, that was wrong.
Once I find like the business.
Oh, no. You need to back to business.
They'll just
like here first.
When you raise that actually, we can wrap out. I'll wrap that. You know it.
Yeah, that's right.
The client can do the work for us.
Yeah.
Hey, lad. Hey, lad. Say you want to say the work to the websites.
I wanted to go on my background.
Yeah.
Not just
I mean, it's just like you have a little. This is training the model. The model takes the one sentence and I'll train them to this.
Yeah.
Like every time you use
You can see how there's a context is usually like, oh, it's not super useful, but imagine if there was like another one that's a phone number, like a whole bunch of I don't think it's like useful. Because they're actually going to count like people that sign in a phone.
I wanted all the millions of businesses in the world. Now we're going to do it by hand. We want the automated model. So now we're not actually creating that, we're creating a training set. It's the difference between creating a training.
But anyway, I can.
There's a training set and one is
Yeah, we need your slides is coming up next for the summary.
So we're gonna wrap now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that better. Oh.
Okay, guys, I know you're having a lot of fun playing with Prodigy, and I hope it's something you will want to get together to do in your own time. But now we want to thank you all for joining us and look towards wrapping up the session. So we're not going to spend as much time recapping the second playthrough. We hope you all agree that it was a much better approach in many ways, including the 4 following specific ways. Number 1, the client got stuck in, which is great because they meant they weren't just bullshitting. Number 2, and they provided really good manpower over here, so that was really good. Number 2, we had communication across the whole team. That's awesome. Number 3, we weren't like stuck going down this annoying rabbit hole around number of employees, which was never going to go anywhere. Don't mention Glassdoor. And number 4, we leveraged awesome tools, which made our work genuinely more efficient. So I hope that second playthrough is what all of your future NLP projects look like, and more broadly, all of your tech consulting looks like. And if you do want to continue putting what you've learned into practice, those annotation tools, you can always come back to the slides, bookmark these slides, and here we go. We got Prodigy there, and Prodigy, they are trying to make some money, so there's a free open source version called Desikan. And then if you do want to use NLP models and you don't want to have to train one yourself, there's this awesome open source project called Spacey, and again, the folks behind Prodigy have made a nice UI around Spacey, which they call Displacey. But also, we want to give a shout out for an OG NLP package in Python called GenSim, which our collaborators Lev and Bhargav have heavily contributed to. And finally, if Spacey in this space in general is interesting, there is an awesome free online course which we're linking to. And then finally, if you enjoyed your time today and more generally feel that it's a really worthwhile endeavor for both for anyone involved in technology projects to think and work through what it might look like to better communicate amongst each other, and in particular, how we can bridge the gap, the communication gap between technologists and lay people. We would love if you want to tell your people about NLRP. So that's the website to pass on. So just to wrap from all of us 4, we want to say thank you all for coming on the final session of the final day of PyData New York 2019. And from Lev, Agatha, myself, and Bhargav, we hope you enjoyed our Python workshop for humans. Thank you very much.